Vietnam, destruction and construction. Vietnam was colonized by the French in the mid-19th century and became a French colony known as French Indochina. During World War II, Japan occupied Vietnam, and the Vietnamese resistance movement, led by the communist Ho Chi Minh, fought against the Japanese. After World War II, the Vietnamese sought independence from France, leading to the First Indochina War from 1946 to 1954. The Vietnamese forces, led by Ho Chi Minh, defeated the French in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. The Geneva Accords of 1954 temporarily divided Vietnam into two states, Communist North Vietnam and Anti-Communist South Vietnam. Elections to unify the country were scheduled for 1956, but South Vietnam refused to participate. In 1955, the United States began providing military aid to South Vietnam. In 1960, the National Liberation Front, NLF, also known as the Vietnam Congress, was formed to fight against the South Vietnamese government. In 1964, a U.S. destroyer was allegedly attacked by North Vietnamese ships in the Gulf of Tonkin, leading to the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which authorized U.S. military involvement in Vietnam. U.S. troops began arriving in significant numbers in 1965, and the war escalated. By the end of 1966, American forces in Vietnam reached 385,000 men, plus an additional 60,000 sailors stationed offshore. The U.S. military relied heavily on air power, dropping more than 7 million tons of bombs on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. The war became increasingly unpopular in the U.S., leading to protests and demonstrations. In 1968, the Tet Offensive, a coordinated attack by the NLF and North Vietnamese forces, shocked the U.S. military and undermined public support for the war. President Richard Nixon was elected in 1968, and he implemented a policy of Vietnamization, gradually withdrawing U.S. troops while increasing support for the South Vietnamese military. In 1972, the North Vietnamese launched a major offensive, but the U.S. and South Vietnamese forces repelled the attack. In 1973, the Paris Peace Accords were signed, which provided for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of U.S. troops. The fighting between North and South Vietnam continued. However, in 1975, the North Vietnamese launched a final offensive that captured Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. North and South Vietnam were reunified under communist rule, and the country was renamed the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The war had a significant impact on Vietnam, leading to widespread destruction, displacement, and casualties. In 1995, Vietnam released its official estimate of the number of people killed during the Vietnam War, as many as 2 million civilians on both sides and some 1,100,000 North Vietnamese and Vietnam Congress fighters. The U.S. military has estimated that between 200,000 and 250,000 South Vietnamese soldiers died. The war also had a lasting impact on the U.S., leading to changes in foreign policy and a re-examination of American values and ideals. After the Vietnam War, the country was devastated both economically and politically, with a huge loss of life and destruction of infrastructure. Recovery of Vietnam after war. The government of Vietnam embarked on a series of reforms, including the introduction of market-oriented economic policies, known as doi moi, in the late 1980s. These policies opened up the economy to foreign investment and trade, leading to rapid economic growth in the following decades. The government also invested heavily in education and infrastructure, which helped to attract foreign investment and create new industries. The agricultural sector, which had been devastated during the war, was restructured, and new farming techniques and crops were introduced to increase productivity. The government encouraged the development of the private sector, which led to the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises, creating new jobs and boosting the economy. The country's tourism industry also developed rapidly, with the government promoting Vietnam's natural beauty and cultural heritage to international visitors. The government implemented policies to reduce poverty, such as providing support to small farmers and increasing access to healthcare and education. Despite ongoing challenges, such as corruption and an aging population, Vietnam has continued to experience strong economic growth and development, with its GDP per capita increasing rapidly in recent years. Today, Vietnam is seen as a model for economic development and has become an attractive destination for foreign investment and business. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel.